There are countless stories of people who have been affected by epilepsy, not only themselves, but their families. And tonight we wanted to share a few with you. I started the Epilepsy Project in 2012. I have always raised awareness for epilepsy, and then I decided that I wanted to do something different in Erie because we didn't have a group here specific to epilepsy awareness who was from the area for the area. Our healthcare system is growing, but it's still a lot of times you get referred out to specialists who are outside of the Erie area, and you come back from your neurology appointments feeling completely alone, scared, mad, frustrated, or excited, or your neurologist tells you that you have to change medication and you don't know how to do that. People don't know what that looks like. You don't have anybody to talk to because of HIPAA violations, so you need a network of people to talk to. There are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to epilepsy. One is that all seizures look alike, and they don't. A lot of people do convulse, but in my case I have absence seizures where I stare and I can go into what's called absence status where I seize for hours on end. They're really rare and sometimes medical professionals don't even recognize, which is why it's so important to talk about your kind of seizures, your kind of epilepsy, and involve people from the medical community, first responders, school nurses. A big piece of the Epilepsy Project is not only for the patient with epilepsy, but also to have a support group for caregivers, because it's as hard to have epilepsy for the caregivers as it is for the patient. Epilepsy affects your entire family.
It's become easier for me to talk about because I wasn't able to before, so I'm thankful that I've come to that point in my life. I have to be aware of my triggers when in my social life and other areas of my life. For instance, a couple of my triggers are lack of sleep and a stress. I'm getting married. I would like to have a family, and I've talked to several people, having a family, being able to get pregnant, sometimes isn't easy. All the medicines aren't the safest sometimes, so it's scary.
Liam's started having seizures at 12 days old, clinical seizures that we saw. Before that, he had a stroke in utero that we did not find out about for about a year after his birth. So technically he had had seizures in utero until he was diagnosed at 4 months old with infantile spasms. Infantile spasms is one of the most detrimental forms of epilepsy a child can have. Only 1 in about 2,000 children are diagnosed with it. We had taken him to Pittsburgh Children's Hospital when he started having his seizures at 12 days old, but come May, when that spasm started, we noticed that they were not helping him anymore, and in July we changed hospitals to University Hospitals in Cleveland, and that's when his life changed. And the doctor, Elia Pastana, came into the room and looked at him and said something we never heard before, that she could help us. And she did. She ran every test imaginable that you would typically see for a patient of epilepsy. We had the video EEGs, we had the MRIs, we had the CAT scan, the PET scan, spinal column, genetics, all done. And then at the end of that week, the results were that he was a surgical candidate. Dr. Jonathan Miller is his neurosurgeon. He had a functional hemispherectomy, and it was 18 hours long. He came through it with amazing flying colors. He was so brave. And a week after his major brain surgery, he went in for another 8-hour surgery. and they disconnected the rest of his right hemisphere from his left. And he has been seizure-free for almost 2 years.
My son was diagnosed with infantile spasms when he was 5 months old, and he'd been having seizures for a couple months, but we didn't even know they were seizures. They were these little jerks, and they didn't seem very detrimental to us. Turned out that they are a catastrophic form of epilepsy. So been to 4 different cities, had his case reviewed by 5 different pediatric neurology teams, and finally, about a little over a year ago, in August of 2013, we added a new medication that seems to have been the missing link. So he hasn't had a seizure in just over a year. Really, in being involved in the Epilepsy Project, in pushing for epilepsy awareness, that's sort of what's most important to me, is that more people know. If we can get one baby diagnosed and treated sooner, and their prognosis is better, then all the work that we do here will be worth it.
Just to know I can pick up the phone and cry to somebody, or to be excited, or to share something with is very, very relieving as a parent. Because Liam is nonverbal and Liam is very limited physically. He is making gains, and I know he will continue to make them. It's nice to have people who understand and can relate to a lot of what you say and will cry with you, happy and sad tears. So it's huge to have a community behind you.